Hi guys. I had forgotten to post yesterday, so we have 4 chapters for today. Well, I've already posted 2. I'm just in the same outfit. That's why I'm saying that. We're gonna read chapters 21 and 22 in Dolls of War. Macy couldn't sit still on the narrow bed. She crossed and uncrossed her ankles. She accepted an aspirin and a paper cup filled with water from the nurse, then explored the bruises on her face with her fingertips. All the while, a sense of unfairness swelled inside her. Why did she have to wait here? She wanted to be with Papa. The men were in there talking about her. In Japan, girls didn't speak out much, but if Miss Tokyo were here, Macy was sure she would say that Macy should hear what the men were saying. Miss Tokyo would be right. The telephone rang on the far corner of the desk. When the nurse turned away to answer, Macy scooted backward on the cot, closer to the wall, then a little closer. Another scoot, and she heard the men's voices next door. They were muffled, but when she turned her ear to the wall, she could understand their words. Principal Bates was saying nice things about her. Macy is a bright girl, honest and hardworking. There was a pause. Then he said, I'm afraid she's blinded by her love for that Japanese doll. Blinded? What did that mean? Papa was agreeing, saying he'd been concerned for some time. There was a pause, and Macy pictured Principal Bates putting his fingertips together as if that helped him prepare for what he wanted to say next. He'd done that when she was in his office with Christopher last December. Macy glanced at the nurse, who was still talking on the telephone, then pressed her ear against the wall so she could hear the men more clearly. You aren't able to protect her, Papa said. I'm going to withdraw her from your school. Withdraw her? Sounding regretful, the principal said, I'm afraid the Japanese doll will always stand in her way with others. For her own safety, she should put the doll out of her mind. The nurse said quietly to Macy, Dear, please lie down and rest. Your father will be with you soon. Macy lay flat with thoughts whirling in her head. A new school? Where? What about her friends? She wouldn't know anyone. What about Lily? Moments later, Papa came from the principal's office. Macy scrambled to her feet. Papa, I won't talk about Miss Tokyo anymore. Please don't make me leave my school. His brown eyes looked troubled as he took her hands in his. Quietly, he said, When I thought you were safely at home, you were chasing the men who wanted to burn Miss Tokyo. I saved her, Papa. What you did was dangerous. And now this. She was afraid to say anything. Sobs threatened to climb up her throat. She tried hard to keep them back. Papa urged her toward the door. We'll talk more at home. That kind of seems unfair to me. The pastor from their church came by after supper. Macy realized that Papa must have called him. Macy served coffee in the parlor, carefully balancing 2 full cups on a tray, trying hard to prove to Papa that he needed her with him. When she came into the parlor, she heard Pastor Wells saying, You're right, Mr. James. This is not the time to pile more on Macy's young shoulders. This latest news could be too much for her. And remember, there's always hope. Macy paused, trying to make sense of the words, but the pastor changed the subject to echo Principal Bates's praise. Macy is a good girl and sharp as a tack. She deserves a fresh start. Pastor Wells looked up as Macy put the tray on the long mahogany coffee table. She had polished the table just before he arrived, and the gleam of the dark wood made her feel proud. But his words worried her. Were they keeping something from her? Should she ask? Papa's eyes were already set on the future. We've placed Miss Tokyo in her original box in the storeroom for safekeeping. There's no longer need to defy the town. With the Stanby's doors locked for inventory, no one will see the doll anyway. Macy sank into a chair as she remembered carrying the little lamps, tea sets, and all the rest into the storage room in her basement. Miss Tokyo had reassured her, with her pretend voice hushed because of the box. I will sleep, Macy-chan, until you come for me. The pastor patted her hand, bringing her thoughts back to the parlor. Macy, you lived at the coast before you came here. Were you happy there? I liked the beach, Macy said with caution. I don't believe either of you met the Farrells, Emery and Ida. They were solid members of our church until 5 years ago, when they moved to Rockaway, over on the coast. He looked at Papa, who said slowly, I met them when they came for the church picnic last summer. Emery especially impressed me. He's a solid patriot, the pastor said. He didn't feel he was doing his part for the war effort as the town barber. He signed on as a volunteer air raid warden as soon as FDR created the job. Ida helps with the Red Cross, rolling bandages and whatever. They'll be great examples for Macy. Do you think they'll have time for her? Macy jerked her attention from the pastor to Papa, then back as Pastor Wells said, I talked with them by telephone before coming over. They've both invited Macy into their home until things settle down here. That might not be until the war ends. Papa hesitated, not meeting the anguished looks Macy was sending him. There's talk of the Japanese planning to invade our beaches. I wouldn't want my daughter there if... Was there hope? Would Papa change his mind because of danger at the beach? The pastor's reassurance cut off Papa's fears. Emery tells me they have people watching every mile of coastline. There won't be any surprise invasion of the Oregon beaches. Her entire future was being decided for her. Macy reached for Papa's sleeve. Please, Papa, I don't want to go away. I want to stay here and help you. I can't keep you safe. He looked into her eyes, his gaze troubled. For a moment, she thought he might waver. With Miss Rasmussen gone, there's no one but me to watch over you. Obviously, I've done a poor job. No, Papa, she said. It's my fault. I promise I'll change. You need a woman to care for you. Papa said, you may not think so now, but you'll be happier with the Farrells. And you've always enjoyed the beach. You'll find agates and crazy-looking pieces of driftwood, maybe even glass floats lost from fishermen's nets all the way across the ocean. But who will help inventory the museum's collection and make supper? Tears brimmed in Macy's eyes. I don't do as well as Miss Rasmussen, but I'm learning, Papa. I am. Another question nearly sent the tears spilling over. If I go away, who will watch over Miss Tokyo? You're doing fine with cooking and the rest, honey, Papa said, surprising her. But right now, it's better for you to live with the Farrells. I know you'll be a big help. Of course she will, the pastor agreed. Emery told me he's put in a big victory garden. Growing vegetables is a good way to help the war effort and work off whatever's bothering you. I'll just bet you'd be good at gardening, Macy. He looked as if he expected her to smile. She felt as if she might never smile again. Deep inside, a plan was forming. She would go to the beach and live with strangers. But she wasn't leaving Miss Tokyo here, where someone might take her out and burn her. Miss Tokyo was going to live with the Farrells, too. With luck, they would never know she was there. That kind of seems unfair. But maybe if you think about it from Papa's point of view, he's just trying to protect his daughter. I don't know. Chapter 22. I'm going to miss you something awful, Lily said on Sunday as she picked at a loose thread on Macy's bedspread. Macy studied the pile of dresses she had laid out beside Lily. I wish I knew how long I'd be gone. Maybe I won't need all these. You'll be back soon, Lily told her. The war can't last much longer. Macy thought she might be wrong. The radio news accounts and the terrible stories in the papers made it sound like the war would never end. Papa says I do things without talking them over with him. But what's the point of talking when I already know his answer? Lily looked confused. He won't care how many dresses you pack, will he? No. Macy hesitated, wondering how much to confide in Lily. I was thinking of Miss Tokyo, of asking to take her with me. Lily looked at her with a clear light of honesty shining from her eyes. You can't take her. She's museum property, not yours. I want her to be safe. She won't be. As soon as you leave, men will burn or bury her. There's nothing you can do, Macy. That doll just gets you into trouble. Tell her goodbye. You have to, Macy. You know that. Macy wrestled with her conscience. The men who hated Miss Tokyo would be criminals for destroying city property if they burned her. By removing the doll, she'd be saving them from jail. You have a funny look on your face, Lily said. You're not still thinking about taking the doll. I dreamed last night, Macy answered softly. People were standing around in a circle, shouting, burn, burn. When I got closer, I saw the bonfire with Miss Tokyo on top. I felt something wet hit my hand and looked up. There was Mama, watching from the clouds. Tears fell from her eyes like rain, splashing the bonfire, but they couldn't stop Miss Tokyo from burning. That's your mind telling you that you can't save the doll, Lily said in her most practical voice. You have to forget about her, Macy. She doesn't matter to your mama anymore. She's passed on, and your father is curator. He can't remove anything from the museum, even if it is in danger. He could, if he was loaning it for a display somewhere. Lily was her best friend, but Lily's honesty might push her to say more than she should to Papa. So she said only to herself, I'm going to take Miss Tokyo where I can keep her safe until I can bring her back. Lily helped her pack for a long stay away, then hugged her as fiercely as if she never expected to see her again. Write to me. Promise. I promise. You write to me too. I will. After another tearful hug, Lily ran down the stairs that to Macy already felt almost alien, as if they had never been part of her life. She forced herself to finish packing before carrying a blanket and leaving it at the bottom. She was making sandwiches to take with them on the drive to the coast when the telephone rang in the next room. Papa left to answer. Macy grabbed the blanket from the stairs, paused to be sure Papa was still talking on the phone, then dashed across to the museum storeroom. For once, she didn't speak to Miss Tokyo, just hauled the packing box toward her, pushed open the lid, and lifted out the doll. Moving quickly, she shoved the box back into place on its lower shelf. She rolled the blanket around the doll, her heart pounding so loudly in her ears, she wondered if she would hear Papa if he did come into the museum. She grabbed Mama's journal from the shelf where she kept it. Since storing Miss Tokyo, Macy had been writing all her notes to Mama while down here visiting the doll in her box. There would be a lot to write about now. She shoved the journal into her skirt pocket. Papa mustn't find her here. She couldn't even imagine how upset he would be, but she knew Miss Tokyo would be lost if she went to the beach without her. I'm doing the right thing, Mama, she said silently. I know you agree. I can feel it. With the doll on the blanket balanced against her shoulder, she hurried up the stairs and out the back door of the museum to the car. There was no room in the trunk for Miss Tokyo. Papa would be bringing her 2 big suitcases. Besides, he might discover the doll when he put the suitcases in. The back seat, then. She shifted the doll to one arm and struggled to open the car door. Papa shouted from the porch. They'll have blankets. You don't need to take your own. It's not a camping trip. I'm used to mine, Macy called. I'll sleep better with my blankets from home. I understand. Sadness crossed Papa's face. She thought he was going to say something more, but he simply shook his head before coming over and opening the rear door to the car. Looks like you're taking your pillow, too. I'm used to my pillow. That wasn't a lie. She was used to her pillow. She would miss it, but she wasn't taking it. Put them across the seat, he said. Here, I'll do it. I can do it. Quickly, she leaned into the car with the blanketed doll. As she hoisted it in, she lost her balance and nearly fell into the car. The bundle dropped from her hands onto the seat. A corner of the blanket fell open. A patch of blue silk gleamed in the dim light. Macy jerked the blanket into place. Her entire body tensed. Papa might have seen the kimono. She braced inwardly, waiting for him to shout to her to put the doll back. That's where we're going to stop. Hope you enjoyed. I hope she doesn't get caught taking Miss Tokyo. All right, stay tuned tomorrow. Bye, guys.